Brooks Range. One of the times you get into country that looks like down here, not just tundra and mosquitoes and all that crap. This is beautiful, beautiful country up in the John River country of the Brooks, where it looks like Yellowstone or America, like it is in the picture books. And you know you're on a stream that probably it just doesn't have human beings around there, because you can walk along it on the gravel on the thing. You don't see gravel streams or anything there, but you look down in there and see 6 fish and make 6 casts and get 6 fish. And we were gone about 5 or 6 miles. You know, say, why aren't we doing fire? Well, this is one of these things where they dropped us even, and just, they would take us out and put us on fires that were 100,000 acres and have been burning all summer. But there wasn't anything to do. This was smokes inside the fire, but if they didn't man a certain number of fires, they were going to take us away and move us to the other district. So they had to be put to use. So that's the game that we played. And on a walk, we'd probably gone 6 miles or so up this, 5 miles, up this stream. I could just keep walking that thing all day long, forever. It was so pretty. And we found an old trapper's cabin and walked inside. The door was half ajar on it, and walked inside. There was still a metal plate sitting on one of those spool jobbies that had wire on it for whatever, sitting on the floor for his table. He had made a bed, a semblance of a bunk bed, one of the top part hanging on the wall and the other part down underneath it. There was still, and I don't know how this happened, but there were still pieces of food on this stuff with all the animals that are around there. There's no way there should have been something there. Life magazines, 1930s, in there, and it looked like he just walked away, like not even a day ago. It was so eerie. And then we turned and we looked and we saw he had windows in the place, but they had like the plastic, but not the bread loaf plastic, that type of thing, cellophane stuff. So I don't know what he put that in. No, man, it could have been whenever that happened, whether that stuff was around in the 30s or 40s or 50s, I don't know. But on the sill he had medicine vials, and they were gold nuggets and gold dust, and there must have been 30 or 40 of them. And gold was still not, at least in the U.S., the gold price was fixed at $35 an ounce. The world price was much different. But Americans couldn't own gold that same way. A deal in gold, they had to sell it. It was $35 an ounce, period. When we were on some semblance of, we weren't on a gold standard or whatever, but we kind of were. And so, when we got back, I mean, the temptation is unreal to load up on that stuff and just say, we just ought to just shove that shit in there and not say a word. You know how you just think that, okay, we can't do that. We can't do that. And so when we got back and we went up to the university and told them about it, and they took it out of there. They brought it to Fairbanks, and it's somewhere, I understand that I didn't see it when I went back up to that jumper reunion. I was looking around, they said that they'd had it, but they were redoing it again. The whole cabin intact the same way we found it. It's still there. And we found mastodon tusk digging through the permafrost one time that they figured was somewhere around several thousand years older. It's a big one. That was really cool. You know, lots of the stuff that happened, it almost became normal. It was things like that. We used to actually, we went fishing. I can say it today. I was even worried about it for a while. But we used a lot of helicopters up there, coordination-wise. As a matter of fact, there have been a number of movements to get rid of jumpers and say you don't need them anymore. We'll do this all by helicopter, but every time they go do that, that generation figures out that it's still cheaper this way. And I know there's those don't believe it. I just ran into a guy that's been with the Forest Service for 30 years. It just went bonkers on me. But I says, I don't care. It's not going to affect me. But by God, they had to get rid of it or whatever. I said, well, stand in line. They've been trying to do it. But we were part of a deal in Fairbanks, and I'll say this was 1969, and this would have been in April or early May. And Fairbanks Days or whatever, and they had some military appreciation day. That's what the hell it was. And it was the first year that we were based, our Ready Shack anyway, or our standby shack operation was a trailer like they had up on the North Slope. And it was on the Wainwright Air Force Base, or Army Base, which is right in Fairbanks. And so this guy came up from California, from, I think that's Region 5, and his name was Jack McDonald. They called him Blackjack. And he had started this program in Region 5 out of Redding and Southern Oregon for rappelling. And we had a guy that was just a new jumper in Alaska that year. He had been a jumper for 1 year, I think, in Redmond in Oregon. And then he went to Vietnam as an officer, and he got busted up pretty good when he was rappelling there, hanging from the deal, and the copter took off to get out of there. He was getting shot at, and it drug him through the trees and busted him up. So he'd been all fixed up, but he was good enough to be able to jump. So he and his wife came up there, and he kind of took charge of this thing along with this Blackjack guy. They had 16 of us. I don't remember how they picked us, but 3 of us were squad leaders, or 2 of us were squad leaders, and one of them was this Dave. And they had 2 different kinds of letdown devices from the helicopter, and they would put 8 guys in the helicopter, and 4 would go out at the same time, 4 would go down, and then the next 4 would go down. And one of them was called a Sky Genie, which is just a tube that had a round rope. You know the Sky Genie? Okay. This other one was called a Sky Slide. You wouldn't know that one. This is 2 plates put together that had the webbing letdown rope type thing. And it snakes through there, and it had a handle that came down. And when you pulled down on the handle, it would let the friction a lot less, so you would slide on down, but it was riveted together. And if it got kink in it, you were stuck. Well, David and I, he was second, I was first out of this 4 group. And so he was in the second set. I had gone out, and I had the Sky Slide. David had one, I don't know who the other guy was. And I'm on the ground. We're a mile southwest, just out in a field of the base. There's brush about this high, and really the helicopter can't sit down. That's what they're trying to do it there, so they're just letting us out from the dangerous hover zone of 50 feet, waiting for the helicopter to pancake on you. I didn't like it, but I probably didn't like it because it wasn't jumping, and we're probably that way. But I hit the ground and I'm unbuckling my stuff. And I looked up and I said, well, everybody else is down around me here. Where the hell's David? And I looked up and he's about 20 to 30 feet over my head in the push-up position, screaming right for me. And all I did was move like this, and he hit the ground in a push-up position. and it's solid ice. It's frozen. There's snow around and all. I mean, it's as hard as that. And it just blew him up. And his arms went right out through his wrists, and he completely blew this femur apart. And the pilot was just utterly incredible. He snuck that thing down in the brush with the tail rotor trying to sneak through the brush. And we put him in the floor of the helicopter. And I'm still holding on to his arms, so I end up in the helicopter with him, taking him to the hospital. And then the other squad leader, Cecil, is on the radio. And we're trying to explain to him there that, you know, have your trauma team ready. We're coming in. But holding on to him was one of the worst. I've had nightmares about that for ages. He had the red foam coming out of his mouth and all over, and he's trying to kick and move. And this is all shattered, legs bent 180 degrees the wrong way. And then these bones all hanging out of here. That was the end of Blackjack. That was the end of rappelling in Alaska. He went back to California, and they went after Skyslide in a lawsuit. Those plates had broken off the rivets. And the strangest thing about it was that we had traded Skyslides on the ground. And so, you know, well, why? It's not your turn again, I guess. But I don't know if I would have reacted the way he did. I mean, he was just possessed. He was just yanking away on the thing, and that's what they told me anyway. I didn't see any of that.